Well, hello, Float Magic fans. Happy to have you tuning in today. We have a couple of guests with us. We have Josh from the Twin Falls Zoological Center, and we have Ethan from Epic Girls and Freshwater Aquatics. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves just a little bit, and we have some questions for them today. So Josh, we'll start with you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. So my name is Josh Stouting. I'm the director of the Twin Falls Zoological Center. We're a nonprofit sanctuary, essentially. So Zoological Center was an intentional name. We thought of going with something shorter like Twin Falls Zoo, but we didn't want people to come look us up and be like, where are your elephants? Where are your tigers? They think zoo, they think off-site acreage. So we started out as a exotic animal rescue, and then began to realize that there was a pretty decent need in the community for education on exotic animals, homes for exotic animals, when, our most typical story is someone gets a lizard or a tortoise or something from Petco, and then when the child gets older, they can't keep it. They move to college or something, and parents don't know what to do with it. And the shelter says, I don't know what species that is. I don't know what it eats. So they reach out to us, and we started going to schools and public events and giving out educational presentations. And the number one question was always, when can we come see your animals? And I would tell them, it's after I get off work at 5. Come to my house. This is where they live. And we partnered up with the Magic Valley Mall. So we have an indoor facility. And we also, we didn't want to say, our original organization, we have 2 nonprofits. Southern Idaho Reptile Rescue was our start. Mm-hmm. And then we created Twin Falls Zoological Center because a lot of people would say, you have reptiles, I don't like those. And while we do have reptiles, we have a number of mammals and birds and fish and saltwater. Things like that we think would be a good asset to the community. So we threw a big name on because we're a zoological center. We have a lot of animals. We study zoology, the study of animals, that type of thing, a lot of information on the history of animals in captivity and conservation. And that's kind of the message. But everyone goes, is this a Twin Falls Zoo? Yeah, it's a Twin Falls Zoo.
It's the Twin Falls Zoo with a lot of perks. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's fantastic. And then I know you've pulled in Ethan for some expertise.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Ethan, you want to kind of explain where you fit into this picture?
Yeah. So I'm the founder of Epic Corals. We've been here locally here in Twin Falls for going on 7 years now. Mm-hmm. And last year I started Freshwater Aquatics, so now we specialize in marine and freshwater.
Yeah, I'm sure that with every animal that comes in, there is a skill set and a knowledge base that differs from animal to animal and fish to fish. Sure. So yeah, it's fantastic that we can have some people at the table. And how I have gotten acquainted with both of these gentlemen is Float Magic is sponsoring their saltwater tank, their predator tank.
Absolutely.
So I walked into an event that you held, showcasing what you were doing, asking for businesses to take part. And I looked at this saltwater tank and said, oh my goodness, I've dove with every single one of those fish. I want to support this tank.
Sure.
And so pretty exciting. And it's such a relative thing for us to take part in, since we deal so much with salt water and salty things as we're here in our salt cave. That just seemed like a really good fit.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you very much for that. We really do appreciate that.
Yeah. Oh, it's our pleasure. We're excited about it. But what I really wanted to do was kind of showcase what opportunities the zoo is providing to our community.
Yeah. So a little bit what I mentioned previously. So our goal is to promote conservation through education. And a lot of these things that, the animals or the environments, it's just really hard to get out of a textbook. Well, it's really hard to get out of, video. And me growing up, my family was involved in wildlife rehabilitation. So my mom specifically, I'm sure you recognize this, going through our facility. My mom worked with tortoises, which instilled in me a love of tortoises. Mm-hmm. We have quite a few there.
They're fantastic.
They are fantastic animals. I love them. But it was the hands-on. It was tending to them. It's looking in the eyes of this animal. It's hand feeding them. It's watching the way they move that really sparks that passion to protect them in their native environment. Mm-hmm. And we've realized from our presentations, when we go out to schools and we do schools, churches, libraries, summer reading programs, day camps, fairs, that type of thing. And our board has always been of the mind that we want this to be an asset for the community, and we don't want cost for that access to information to be something that inhibits them. So we don't charge for them. And we've done libraries as far away as Oakley. We're a nonprofit, so we accept donations, but it's truly our joy and our pleasure to be able to do that. Unfortunately, with the construction of the facility and the amount of animals we've taken in, we were founded in 2018. So we're into our 5th year now. With the amount of animals we've taken in, we had to come up with something to offset that, which is why we designed the facility and, will be admission based. But in our design, we have currently, and we are in the final steps here. We're actually set to open this Saturday.
So exciting.
We're really excited. It'll be our soft opening. We're going to just open our doors and let the organic traffic come in. We've had tarps up in our windows at the Magic Valley Mall, so people will walk by and see our turtle pond with all our lights and our plants growing, our turtles and koi, and they'll see our desk with our dart frogs. They'll see our African crested porcupine, where we anticipate it's going to be a good hit, but that'll give us some time to get our feet under us as far as our cash registers and all that. But in that construction, so at the beginning of last week, we had 54 exhibits. We now have 57 because as we build and move out tools that have been stored there, we say, wait a minute, we can put this animal here at another exhibit. And our design from the beginning was to have it be a community-funded facility. So we set it up that depending on the size of an exhibit, there was a certain price ascribed to it. That would cover the acquisition of the animal. If we were to purchase the animal from a licensed or reputable breeder, the construction of the exhibit, including heating, glass, all of those things, and then the feed and veterinary care of the animal. And the value, the monetary value, as that increased, the length of what we called the sponsorship term would increase. And basically, if a business came in and said, we'd like to sponsor this exhibit for X amount of money, they would get their logo on the exhibit for a certain amount of time. The longer, or the higher the price, the more, the longer the length would be. And then in return, we would offer passes for the business to use for their clients or their employees or otherwise. The issue was, and when we started, we took possession of the space in 2021, and we went door to door in Twin Falls, and we've spoken with hundreds of businesses, and businesses were absolutely excited. And in fact, it was really kind of neat because a few of them would say, "My daughter saw you at her school the last 2 years, and she raves about you. You're Josh." And I'm like, "Yeah."
Oh, that's awesome.
My daughter said Josh came with a tortoise again today. And so it's really cool that we got to see that impact, which really motivated us to continue in this. But the issue was we started the year after COVID, and businesses they would say, "This is the coolest thing. I just don't know where the world's headed. I just don't know. I can't maintain employees. I don't know if we're going to get shut down again. I just don't have the budget for something like that," which we understood. So our board pulled together and we used personal resources and others. And we have had businesses come through and support. But our percentage, I'll have to remember, we're of our 100% funded all of our exhibits at 100% goal. I think we're only about 30% right now.
Okay.
But we're 100% complete building. So
nice.
Our goal is to open up, and then once businesses see it and see the draw and see the impact and see the value, I think it will bring to our community here in Twin Falls. We anticipate that sponsorships will come back through, but at the end of the day, this is something that our entire board is really passionate about, and we've seen the benefit and the impact it can have on the community. So we were going to figure out a way to make it happen. So
awesome.
That's where we're at now, and we're really, really excited. It feels surreal after 2 years.
Sure. Trying to make a dream come to fruition.
Sure.
After
after two long years, a lot of questions. And another thing we had to work with closely was the city of Twin Falls. I was in Petco the other day. Sorry, Ethan. I was in Petco the other day, and we were picking up something, and a light bulb or something that we needed. And one of the associates that they know us because we go there, and he said, "Oh, you guys, when are you guys gonna open?" I'm like, "Actually, this Saturday." And he said, "Oh, I thought it was because you guys couldn't get licensed or insured." And the reality is, we've been licensed federally. We've been licensed with the state. In fact, Fish and Game wrote us a letter of recommendation to the mall saying we've worked closely with these guys.
Awesome.
We would permit them based on their operation and their ethics and their care of animals. The issue was there's just no code in Twin Falls for a zoo. So when we go to the city and say, "Hey, would you guys come here for our final inspection?" and they look at our alligator tank, well, the alligator tank is deeper than 20 inches, and therefore it has to be classified as a self-contained spa or a jacuzzi. And we say it's none of those because it's got a 4-foot American alligator and some snapping turtles. No one will be in that water.
Right.
Well, sorry, there's no code for an alligator exhibit. Therefore, we have to call it this. So let's go to deliberation. Let's figure out what we can call it. And then that delayed. And then, your HVAC system. There's no code for animals indoors except for like a commercial setting.
Yeah.
So are you a cow barn? Are you a pig processing plant?
Because that's what we have code for.
Exactly, yeah.
We don't have it. We were under the same guise as a flow center and having saltwater tanks, tubs that aren't pools.
Right.
Right. And then there's certain, our HVAC system and our heating system was totally unique.
Yeah.
And so there is a lot of benefits to being a pioneer and bringing in new types of things. But there's also a drawback and a setback when you don't have code that meets. So I can empathize with you on that one.
And our option, there were some that were code. Well, we'll call you this commercial code for your HVAC, but you're going to need to do some serious roof work and $150,000 in upgrades to your HVAC system.
Oh my goodness!
And we had contractors saying, that equipment is way overbuilt and it will sit on the roof and rot in the event that you guys ever move out. There's no reason,
recapture.
Yeah, there's no reason to do that. And then, back and forth with the city. And they've been really good to work with the city, but there's a code and they're doing their job. And so it was a long time of about a year of back and forth with the city, trying to come up with solutions, working with engineers. So we finally come to this point, and we just can't be. We're just so excited.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Well, way to persevere. Way to persevere, so we have something great in our community that's accessible. And
thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I would echo that. When we worked with the city, they were so great because they could see the benefit of what we were doing.
Oh, absolutely.
And wanting to fit in to make this allowable. So I was very grateful for that process as well. And then Ethan, I'm excited to chat to you about this tank that we're going to put some pretty amazing animals in, but I think our viewership would probably enjoy learning how you got started.
So I've been a hobbyist for going on almost 19 years. I got my first saltwater tank, so I've been through a lot of learning curves. So it's really nice though, because it's when you come into the local Epic Corals, I'm telling you from experience and not from what I read. Sure. Everything I'm telling you, I've already done and witnessed. So it just makes it that much stronger, just because it's all hands-on.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how. So with Epic Corals, I was a vet tech on dairies for 7 years before I started Epic Corals, but I was a hobbyist in my basement. And for fun, I was just aquaculturing corals just for fun down in my basement, and go to local fish stores here in Twin Falls, and I just meet people, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, cutting anemones and regrowing them, and cutting coral and regrowing them. And so that, it started out with people to say, hey, can I come check it out? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then a few people are like, hey, can I buy some of that? And I'm like, no, it's not for sale. I'm not like growing it to sell it. And then, just ideas started rolling off of that was, people saying, man, we need something like this in Twin Falls, and so it kind of took off from there. And so I went out, and by the time I left my house, my now wife said that I look like a drug dealer because I had so many people coming over to buy corals and stuff. And she's like, you need to go get a store. So
the neighbors won't die.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a lot of coral reef lights coming out of my basement. So a lot of lighting and a lot of people coming through and buying coral at this point. And she's like, yeah, you need to go find a store. And it just excelled big time. That's after awesome. That. So
well, I was excited to learn. Yeah, there's quite a chemistry to saltwater, as we know here. There's quite a complication and technical things about coral itself. And there's a fish population that's either friendly to coral or not friendly. And so, and that's kind of some of the challenges you're running into with the predator tank, correct?
Correct. So we're shooting for beautiful coral, but more of a predator fish, but won't necessarily eat coral, but will eat, invertebrates or smaller fish. So we're trying to figure out, the same sizes, what fish can keep the tank clean without having hermit crabs, snails, shrimp, things like that in there. But for the most part,
because those are food, right? Those are food.
Yeah, that's
for
where
fish.
the predator comes in.
Right.
Yeah.
So we don't need to be kids walking through watching feeding hour, right?
Right. Yeah.
Sure, there's some kids that'll love that, and there's others that might be traumatized by that.
Yes.
but yeah, so that because the tank when I first saw it looks a little different than it does now. But what I am excited about is that's leaving opportunities for us to say, hey, how about this fish and how about this fish, and my team is looking forward to like saying, well, we want to see these fish in there, and we've even considered opening it up to our clientele to say, hey, what fish would you vote on? We're going to have a contest where we decide on the fish that are here. So that's something that I'm excited to work through with you. So
and then at the same time too, if we just put a giant piece of coral in there that I got from Idaho Falls. So I used to have a Pocatello store. I sold that in June 13th. I sold that store off. But I went up to see a customer in Idaho Falls, and he had this, I don't know, what would you say, Josh, like 27 inches, 28 inches?
It looks like
coral.
It's the size of a basket. It's amazing. He told me it was big, and I went in the next day, and I'm like, someone dropped a basketball in this tank. It's really amazing. It's impressive.
That's so cool.
So I figured, if we can get big enough colonies of coral in there, that's going to sustain, being eaten on or things like that, that it's going to create this ecosystem. So if we can rapidly grow this coral or get big chunks of coral, fish picking on it every day won't kill it because there's enough for it to
regenerate.
Exactly. Keep going.
Yeah.
So that's really where I want to get it to, is where if there's a fish that you like and it is a coral nipper, we're not going to have little teeny pieces in there.
And
one
have
bite
it
and it's gone.
Like those angel fish that I'm so fond of out in the wilds and things of that nature. So I don't know if the coral's big enough and healthy enough for that yet, but that's exciting. What other types of fish do you think will be beneficial in that environment?
So
and you can even say what's in there now too.
So what's in there now it's called a blue throat trigger, one of the only coral safe triggers on the market. There's a cross hatches, but like I was telling you, those are very expensive. So he's a fairly inexpensive trigger fish. And then there is a zebra moray eel, and they are one of the safest moray eels because their teeth go backwards or forwards instead of backwards. So all morays, their teeth go backwards. So when they grab on a fish, they can't get away.
Yeah.
So
there's no getting out.
Yep. So this one's safe. And then there is a lunar wrasse in there. Very active fish, one of my favorite fish, super colorful. And he just, once again, invertebrates, shrimp, things like that, but he's coral safe as well. And then, for the ecosystem, so lionfish. There's a lionfish. I was like, I feel like I'm missing one.
And then they're really obvious fish in there.
And then there's a really nice volatin lionfish. So it took us a while down at Epic Corals to get it to start eating. Of course, it was eating live food, but we want to try and wing them off of that and try and get them to eat frozen foods and things like that. He's thriving in there, and it's a treat to him when you do throw in a minnow or something, but super healthy, doing really well. And then I was going to get to something else, but I can't. So part of the ecosystem, some of the fish I like to see, are tangs. Everybody likes tangs, but they do a good cleanup, right? You got bristle-tooth tangs, which their teeth are bristly. So when they pick at the rocks, they're actually scraping the root of the algae. And then you have like a yellow tang from Hawaii, or like a blue hippo tang, which is your dory. When they eat the algae, they pull the algae. They don't necessarily scrape the algae. And then I was also thinking like some kind of fish that is gonna sift through the sand. So a sand sifting goby. I was telling Josh we're gonna have to look for like XXL, something that can't get swallowed up
by the predators that are in
exactly.
there.
So what they do is they just pretty much take big mouthfuls of sand or gravel or whatever it is on the bottom for the substrate, and they turn it over by sifting it through their gills. So I think those are going to probably be the two most important that we should probably look at getting in there to keep it clean while it's not being maintained.
Yeah. Exciting things happening in the ecosystem of the predator tank.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're lucky that we have someone of your expertise in the area.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Glad to be part of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about was how businesses can get involved and what they get through their sponsorships and what that kind of looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So we basically have it set up into a tiered system based on the value of the sponsorship, and those are all determined by the size of the exhibit. We have had some businesses that say, this particular exhibit, this speaks to our business, it represents our business, and the value is less than what we want. So if we want to get to the next tier and get that next level of day passes or party room rentals, can we get that one and then just extend our length? And we say, well, absolutely. But we have it set up according to that tiered structure. And the things we have available for businesses are first and foremost, it's the exhibit advertisement. So we had a business analyst come through, and based on demographic of Twin Falls, the demographic and kind of the numbers from existing facilities in the state. So Idaho Falls with Idaho Falls Zoo, Pocatello with Zoo Idaho, I believe they're called, and then Boise Zoo, Boise Aquarium. Just their traffic numbers. He basically put together a projected attendance for us. So in a relatively unsaturated market in Twin Falls, our first year he anticipates 60 to 80,000 in attendance. So the business looking at it from that standpoint can say, hey, if I'm to put my logo on the alligator biome, I'm going to have in the first year exposed to 60 to 80,000 people, and that's expected to increase year by year. That could be good exposure for them, and we try to incorporate it into the businesses that do make sense. For instance, we just had a business come in and sponsor an exhibit. They're agri-store, and they work with food storage. And they're able to offer us some potatoes, and they sponsor an exhibit for a turtle that eats potatoes. And actually, it's a really intelligent turtle. It's an aquatic turtle called a fly river turtle. So we can feed them, and they'll actually do tricks. And so, that really kind of makes sense with us. We had one of our other large tortoise exhibits there. The species of tortoise is the sulcata tortoise, or the African spurred tortoise. They're the third largest species of tortoise on the planet. They have a real specific diet. And in captivity, a lot of times people feed them higher sugar diets, fruits, melon, things like that. They love it, but where they come from in sub-Saharan Africa, they almost experience no sugar. So they don't process it very well.
Yeah.
So they really do need like a hay mixture. Well, we had Stanley Hay sponsor that, and it really makes sense. Now they can advertise on their end that we put their logo and we say, hay provided by Stanley Hay. And they actually went above and beyond, and they were able to give us hay for the rest of our animals that eat hay. So now they get their business exposed. Hey, our chinchillas are being fed by Stanley Hay, and that gets them that exposure that lets people know that they're active in the community. So one of the big things is the advertisement. Secondarily, we do have a party room that's available for rental, whether for a birthday party or office gathering on site. So depending on the value of the sponsorship, businesses get annual one free rental. They get day passes. We also have year passes. In addition to that, we have what are called VIP passes. And those are year passes and limited admission for a family, adults and children in the same household under 18, and any number of children. If you have 22 kids, bring them in.
They're all on your membership.
Absolutely.
That's
and the
great.
VIP offers, we will have certain VIP events where you get in an hour early or perhaps stay an hour late. And then we have 10% discount for VIP on all gift shop, the party room rentals. And then we do have a number of feed stations set up. So we have animals that you can purchase tokens at the front counter. You use the tokens to get feed, and then you feed the animals while on site. So you have that opportunity to really kind of get personal with the animal. So you get 10% off those. And our feed system, we designed that one with the animal's best interest in mind. We've had a couple people say, feed system, like what if they get overfed, and isn't that kind of unhealthy? So basically what we do is we take, for instance, our African crested porcupine. If she gets 11 ounces of produce a day, in the morning we prepare her 11 ounces and we divide it into portions, and then throughout the day for the feed tokens, the public purchases the tokens and then feeds her daily allotment. So they never get more than what they should for their specific species or weight. And then that just kind of helps them maintain. And then at the end of the day, if the feed wasn't purchased, we feed them at closing. And so
take an accounting of what they did eat and what they should.
Yep, exactly. So that lets us track the health of the animals. We're not giving you a bag of marshmallows at the front that you can
throw out to them.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
zoos of my childhood. I'm pretty sure we did some of those things.
Something like that. We're trying to. We recognize too. People say, in some of our social media, there have been people when we post and say we're open up in this facility, and they go, zoo in a mall, this is wrong. And we really want to show people the animal in as big of a space we can in their native habitat. Mm-hmm. That's what's been really awesome to work with Ethan, because he's a visionary. I said, Ethan, I want not just a fish, I want the ocean. I want people in Twin Falls to be able to look at the ocean. What do we need to do to get as many components of the ocean so you can really experience it here?
Really get the feel of it.
And he'll call me and text me, I got this fish, I was doing some research, I think we do this, which is really great. And that's how we've tried to design our facility, and animal care is really our top priority. Well,
and it's very obvious when you're walking through there that, the exhibits are beautiful. They feel like a nice, cozy home for those animals. They're not just, they're in this corner and in this section. You guys have really taken a lot of care and consideration, and it's obvious. It's visible. So kudos to you.
Thank you
for
very
that.
much. Yeah, thank you.
Well, excited to get this out to our viewership. Hopefully any businesses that are watching, you might consider taking advantage. I know we were very excited. We're excited for our clients to kind of do some cross membership and have events over at the zoo so that we can really showcase this wonderful gift that has come to Twin Falls.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone's interested, typically, the big thing we've run into before is this sounds great, but I just can't picture it. Call me when you're open, or when are you opening? And unfortunately, with the hurdles, we just didn't have a date. So by the time this airs, we will be open. And if businesses are interested, they can just come on in.
And you have a grand opening date. What's that date?
Yes. So our first day open will be September 2nd. That's this Saturday. And then our grand opening will be September 30th. So we anticipate by the time we get to Monday of next week, people will have taken enough pictures. And as I mentioned earlier, we have tarps that kind of block the construction. Well, they've been up for nearly 2 years. So those will come down. There's a lot of life. We have a waterfall. We have live plants, a lot of greenery. We have 2 macaws right there that people can see. So a lot of life and vibrancy and color. Anticipate that will spread in Twin Falls, and by the time the grand opening comes, it will just be us adding news crews and the radio. But our grand opening will be set for September 30th, and we intend to have a face painting, possibly balloon animals, that type of thing for the public to enjoy.
Fun. Well, wonderful. Yeah. And this will air the Tuesday after your opening on Saturday. Awesome. So we're pretty in line with. Yeah. So it's pretty exciting to get this out there.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for attending today and entertaining my questions.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. We're very excited to be part of the Twin Falls Zoological Center.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. And remember, there's plenty of areas in town where it's perfectly okay to stay salty.